very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to this Sunday's edition of Primetime News coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I am Arundhati Mudannayak and let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
Prime Minister inspects COVID-19 vaccination program. First jab of the AstraZeneca vaccine provides immunity for 6 months. A statement from the World Health Organization. Interpol had warned about 2 mercury-laden ships in the Indian Ocean.
In එකනෞකාවක් මේ වෙනකොට ලංකාවට ඇවිල්ලා ගිනි අරගෙන අපේ මුහුද විනාශ කරලා
Acid leak from the Express Pearl damaged large amounts of marine resources. Environmentalists raise concerns.
Now the stories in detail. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa inspected the vaccination campaign that began in Mathura today.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa inspected the vaccination campaign that took place at the Mahinda Rajapaksa College in Mathura today. While stressing the need to carry out the vaccination drive without any interruption, the Prime Minister instructed officials to implement the exercise without inconveniencing the public. State officers, employees attached to provincial councils and essential service workers were among those who received the jab at the location today.
Army Commander General Shavendra Silva has said that vaccines were administered in 8 districts today. The inoculation of the public with the Sputnik vaccine in the Kandy district began today. The vaccines were administered in the SWRD Bandaranayake National College in Kundasala and the Pilawala Mahavidyalaya in Manikinna. COVID-19 vaccines were administered in the Jaffna district for the first time today. Vaccination programs were held in the Kopai, Vaddukodai and Kailadi areas. Sinopharm vaccines were administered at the Roxy Gardens in Vallavatta with the assistance of the army. The Sinopharm vaccine was also administered at the PD Sirisena grounds in Vallavatta and the Kettarama Vihara. Vaccines were administered in line with health regulations in the Hiriyala, Mavathagama and the Kurunagala town in the Kurunagala district. A batch of Sinopharm vaccines has been allocated for the Kurunagala district. The inoculation of vaccines also took place at the Purvarama temple in Mathura. Essential service workers were offered vaccines at the office of the Medical Officer of Health in Gaul. The second dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine was administered at the Abhairama temple in Narayanpeta. Our correspondent reported that the vaccine has been administered based on a name list obtained from the temple.
Has the interval to receive the second jab of the AstraZeneca vaccine been revised?
In a technical note published today, the World Health Organization said that the first dose of the AstraZeneca jab will provide immunity for 6 months against COVID-19. Previously, the global health body had recommended that the second dose must be administered between 8 to 12 weeks of receiving the jab. The World Health Organization had noted that the first jab would not have to be administered even if the period lapses.
Is China offering the Sinopharm vaccine to Sri Lanka at a higher price?
On the 27th of this month, Shah Ali Farhad, the special assistant to the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, in a tweet said the Bangladesh cabinet had approved a proposal to allocate $150 million to procure 15 million doses of the Sinopharm vaccine, adding that this was a bilateral agreement struck between Bangladesh and China. Pursuant to the tweet, a discourse had emerged on social media alleging that China, which is offering the Sinopharm vaccine to Bangladesh at a rate of $10 per vaccine, had sold the vaccine to Sri Lanka at $15 each.
If the vaccine provided to Bangladesh is offered at $10 and the one offered to Sri Lanka is sold at $15, it is an issue. If a certain party has intervened to procure the vaccine at a higher price through corrupt means and has requested cabinet approval for it, the president and the cabinet is responsible to probe the matter.
බංගලදේශයට
The same vaccine is being offered to Bangladesh at $10. Paying $5 extra for one vial would mean we are paying $7 million extra for 14 million vials. At a time when our economy has hit an unprecedented low, are we paying more to China, or is someone pocketing the extra $7 million?
වැඩිපුර ඩොලර් 7 මිලියන 7ක් චීනට ගෙවනවද කාගේ හරි සාක්කුවට යනවද බංග්ලාදේශයේ මිල ගැන
I cannot comment on the price offered to Bangladesh. The price ranges from $18 to $40 due to the plethora of reasons. We have procured the vaccines at a competitive price following a tender procedure. We hold meetings via Zoom and hold discussions with them and procure the vaccines.
මීටින් තියලා Zoom තාක්ෂණය ඔස්සේ අපි ගන්න පුළුවන් අවම මිලට තමයි මේ ලබාගෙන තියෙන්නේ.
Responding to the backlash through a tweet, the Chinese embassy in Sri Lanka said, quote, "We checked with the Chinese embassy in Dhaka as well as the Sinopharm group. Bangladesh Health Minister has clarified last week that their procurement agreement, including pricing, is not finalized yet. The fake news on social media has already disturbed their ongoing negotiation," unquote. Subsequently, a Sri Lanka Twitter user had questioned on the thread as to why China offers vaccines to different countries at varying prices. Responding to the query, the Chinese embassy tweeted, quote, "If you go through the web, you'll find that it's a common practice of different price range for all the pharma companies, and Sri Lanka gets a best corporate price with the fastest delivery," unquote. Countries that are below us in terms of economic status and stability have begun vaccinating their people. Morocco had administered 7 million AstraZeneca vaccine doses by the 21st of January. In the South Asian region, Myanmar had administered 3.7 million jabs and Bangladesh had administered 7 million jabs by the 21st of January. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga said that half the population of Sri Lanka will be vaccinated. The people are not receiving the vaccines in a proper manner. The government is saying that they need funds, but for people to earn an income, they must first be able to live in the country. If people start dying, how can the country's economy be uplifted?
The president of Seychelles has said that the vaccine has acted as a lifesaver in his country.
In terms of fully vaccinated, as far as the 2 doses are concerned, we are at 64%. But as far as the first dose is concerned, we are at 100% because we have vaccinated 70% of our population. We started off with Sinopharm for those between 18 and 60. And for the over 60s, we administered AstraZeneca first. But after we had vaccinated the over 60s, we also offered AstraZeneca to everyone above 18. And this combination has worked extremely well for us. It's proved to us that the 2 vaccines have really been effective. Is up to now, we haven't had a single death of anyone who's had the 2 doses. The vaccine has really saved the Seychelles.
Economic centres in the country were kept open today, although travel restrictions continued in the island. Our correspondents reported that farmers had brought their produce to these economic centres. However, the absence of porters had affected the process. These goods are heavy. We cannot engage in these activities without porters. We cannot grant them written permission to report to work as well. There are about 2,000 daily wage labourers. Some of them had been sent back home by the police. We are finding difficulties due to the lack of porters at this location. The Palliaguda fish market was also kept open today. We could not sell fish. We are unable to do that since there are no traders. They are claiming that fish is being sold, but traders are not allowed to visit the market to purchase fish. Although they said that passes would be issued, only a few of them have the permit. The rest of them are being sent back home. When that happens, to whom can we sell our fish? Farmers brought their produce to the Dambulla dedicated economic centre today.
තුනේ නා පොලිමේ ඉන්නේ. තව කොහමද දෙක තුනක් එනකොට. උදේ නම් කෑම වතුරක් නැහැ. ඉතින් ඔහොම තමයි ජීවත් වෙන්නේ අපි.
අපි මේ බොහොම දුක් විඳලා අලිත් එක්ක ප්‍රාල්ලා රැදිසිනේ මරාගෙන මේ වගා කරලා මේ වෙළඳපොළට මේ.
We are cultivating these crops while battling the threats posed by wild elephants, but we were unable to sell our produce. We have been standing in queues since morning. We cannot sell all our products after opening the market all of a sudden. We are facing various problems.
දඹුල්ල ප්‍රදේශයේ තියෙන වට්ටක මේ වෙළවලු විකුණන්න බෑ. ඉතින් හරි දුකක් අපි මේ වෙන්නේ ඉන්නේ.
Traders unions say that the economic centre has received hundreds of thousands of kilos of produce from farmers. Our correspondent reported that the cost of vegetables in the market was low as traders had not arrived from other parts of the country.
වෙළඳ නම් තක්කාලි රුපියල් 140 වගේ තිබුණා. දැන් අද මිල පොඩ්ඩක් බැස්සා රුපියල් 80යි 70යි 65ටක් තියෙනවා. ගෙනාර වැඩක් නැහැ, දීගන්න විදියක් නැහැ, වෙළඳොත් නැහැ. විකුණන්න බෑ. ඉතින් ගොයියට වැඩක් නැහැ එහෙම දීලා.
Busy scenes were witnessed at the Tabuttegama dedicated economic centre today. Farmers brought their produce to the Katugastota Manikumbura dedicated economic centre today. Our correspondent reported that wholesale traders had purchased vegetables and fruits at the centre. Products had been sold at the market at higher rates. Meanwhile, long queues were witnessed at the Kapatipola dedicated economic centre today as well.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa has said that the vaccination drive in Sri Lanka is heading towards an unfortunate disaster at present. Issuing a statement, the opposition leader pointed out that the government failed to implement a proper plan on allocating funds to import the jabs or for managing the vaccination drive in the country. The statement added that the government had irresponsibly disregarded the opposition's request to import the vaccines in advance. The opposition leader, in his statement, urged the government to place equal importance on every citizen, irrespective of their social status.
Our health workers are tired today because they have continuously worked for the past year. It is dangerous to continue this way. The health sector has reached its tipping point. The only way to protect them is to set a common set of principles that everyone will accept. Only through such a plan can we halt this situation.
Meanwhile, Vietnam has detected a COVID-19 variant that appears to be a combination of the Indian and the UK variants and can spread quickly by air.
Vietnam's health minister described the latest mutation yesterday as very dangerous. Viruses mutate all the time and most variants are inconsequential, but some of them make the virus more contagious. The health minister had said, quote, Vietnam has uncovered a new COVID-19 variant combining characteristics of two existing variants first found in India and the United Kingdom, end quote. He added that the genetic code of the virus would be made available soon.
Former parliamentarian and former representative of the Southern Provincial Council, Venerable Baddegama Samithathera, passed away this morning while receiving treatment at a private hospital in Matara.
The Venerable Thera, who was 68 years old at the time of his demise, was admitted to the hospital after contracting COVID-19. Although he had been discharged from the hospital later on, the Thera had been admitted to hospital once again after experiencing a lung-related ailment. Venerable Baddegama Samithathera, who was an active member of the Sri Lanka Samasamaja party, was the first Thera to enter parliament. He was a notable figure in Sri Lanka's political sphere. Venerable Baddegama Samithathera, may you attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana.
A group of CID officers travelled to Wellawatta today in order to record a statement from the captain of the Express Pearl vessel which caught fire in anchorage off the Colombo port. The captain and crew of the vessel are currently undergoing quarantine at a private hotel in Wellawatta.
CID officers arrived at the hotel around 3:45 p.m. today to record a statement from the captain regarding the incident.
Today, the CID attempted to record a statement from the captain of the ship. But as the captain was not in possession of the relevant documents regarding the ship, the recording of the statement was postponed to tomorrow. The latest revelation on the Express Pearl vessel.
Professor Chandima Vijay Gunawardena of the Princess Noor University in Riyadh has said that the Interpol had been aware of the presence of 2 mercury-laden vessels in the Indian Ocean.
ඉන්දියන් සාගරයේ විෂ සහිත
2 vessels containing hazardous material had been travelling in the Indian Ocean during this period. The Interpol had informed Pakistan about this. Bangladesh and India had also been apprised on this. That begs the question, wasn't Sri Lanka informed about this? When they had notified authorities about this, they had done so by saying that there are 2 vessels on the Indian Ocean carrying hazardous oil and other toxic substances. One vessel had entered Sri Lankan waters and had caught fire, resulting in destruction to our waters and land. The other vessel that had been travelling towards the Indian port had been diverted towards Pakistan and is now docked at a harbour of Karachi. That vessel is carrying more than 15,000 barrels and containers comprising mercury and oil mixed with other chemicals. A vessel carrying substances not much different to the other vessel had entered Sri Lankan waters and had caught fire. We don't know whether this vessel is carrying mercury as well. Who allowed such hazardous material to enter our waters? This is what we need to know. I wish to question whether we are being governed by a government that can cause the highest possible damage to the country.
ලංකාවට ගෙන එන්න කවුද අවසර දුන්නේ කියන එක තමයි අපිට දැනගන්න ඕන කරන්නේ.
What were the contents of the vessel?
According to the information portal set up by MTI Network, which represents the operators of the vessel had been carrying 1,486 containers in total, along with 25 tons of nitric acid, 297 tons of heavy fuel oil, and 81 dangerous goods containers.
What were the true contents of the vessel?
All responsible parties have remained tight-lipped on the matter so far. Newsfirst inquired from the Director General of the Sri Lanka Atomic Energy Regulatory Council, Anil Ranjith, if the vessel was carrying radioactive material within its consignment of dangerous cargo. Responding to the query, the Director General said he had received confirmation from the Sri Lanka Ports Authority on the non-existence of radioactive material. However, it is pertinent to pay attention to concerns raised by environmentalists on the matter.
We are unsure of the contents in the 81 dangerous goods containers. Was there nuclear waste? Since this is a vessel sailing through Singapore, we have reasonable suspicion as to whether they dumped the nuclear waste into the ocean. Why we are concerned is because we don't know if the dangerous cargo contained heavy metals such as arsenic and lead. This could result in the demise of all marine life in the area. This would definitely impact many in our country. When the fish ingest these heavy metals, they become carcinogenic. We urge the Ports Authority to make all documents, including the ship's manifest, public, obtain the black box and reveal all conversations to the nation. Failing to do so will lead to the belief that the government too is surreptitiously responsible for this tragedy.
ඒවා හෙළි නොකරනවා කියන්නේ අපි විශ්වාස කරන්නේ මේ ආණ්ඩුව දැනගෙන වංචනිකව මේ ක්‍රියාවලිය පිටිපස්සේ ඉන්නවා කියන කාරණේ.
The environmental impact of the fire that erupted on the Express Pearl vessel.
The western coast of Sri Lanka is currently facing the impact of the massive environmental damage caused due to the fire on the vessel. Debris from the vessel has now begun washing up on the southern coast of the country. Officers attached to the Air Force, Navy and the Coast Guard were involved in cleaning up the western coast today as well.
Can the environment impact be disregarded?
The nitric acid that had split into the seas is so powerful that it would have dissolved the flesh of all the creatures in the area. The algae in the waters would have been destroyed due to this. Nitric acid also has the impact of dissolving calcium carbonate. This will have an impact on the corals and cause it to dissolve as well. In 1 year, only about 3 inches of corals will grow. That is why, as environmental experts, we are raising our concerns over this. These are resources that support the life of marine life. We have lost these resources due to a one-time compensation. How can the cabinet and the government bear such a weak mindset? Is this what the government is supposed to do? Plastics also have an impact. The fish cannot identify and refuse plastic pellets. They will consume them. It will end up in the systems of the fish. That is why the mouths and the internal organs of the fish that are found to be dead contain plastic. This is a crime.
ඇඟේ තියෙන්නේ ප්ලාස්ටික් පෙලට් සහ කරමල් වල හිර වෙලා තියෙන්නේ ප්ලාස්ටික් පෙලට්. මේක අපරාධයක්.
The impact on the fishing industry.
Fishing communities are bearing the brunt of the detrimental effects of the blaze on board the Express Pearl. Fisher folk in several coastal areas including Munnakaraya, Chelau, Maravilla and Muthupanthia now face one common issue.
දීවර ජනතාව මීගමුවේ දීවර ජනතාව දැන් සති දෙකමාරක් තිස්සේ කාලගුණයෙන් හුඟා දුරට බැට කෑවා. ඒ අතරතුරේ තමයි මේ නැවේ ගිනිගත්ත ප්‍රශ්නේ ඇති වුනේ. දැන් අපි ජීවත් වෙන්න ක්‍රමයක් නැහැනේ. මේ දිගටම ඉන්නේ මේ කලපුව මුන්නක්කරය පිටිපන මේ කුකුරණ කටුනායක මේ සියලුම ඉන්නේ වැල වීදිය මේ දිගටම කොච්චිකඩේට යනකම් ඉන්නේ ජීවර ජනතාව මූදෙන් යැපෙන්නේ.
මේ කලපුව පවා අපවිත්‍ර වෙන තත්ත්වයට පත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. අපි දැක්කා කලපුව පවා විවිධ වර්ණ ගැන්විලා තියෙනවා. මේ කොක්කු මාළු පවා වැටිලා මරණ තත්ත්වයට පත් වෙලා තියෙනවා.
නැව ගිනිගෙන දින 10යි.
The entire country is in chaos. Fishing communities have been impacted. They cannot engage in their trade. It has been 10 days since the fire broke out. We ask the authorities to reveal the scientific solutions presented for the matter.
Fish and other aquatic animals had died in the Negombo Lagoon. Representatives of the National Aquatic Resources Research and Development Agency obtained samples from the Chelau beach today.
How will the damage be assessed? Are all responsible factions included?
Chartered assessors claim they have not been approached to assess the damage.
World-renowned assessors are residing in Sri Lanka. We need to assess the damage and obtain compensation. Compensation must be assessed. We cannot provide a random number. We can assess it. It should be assigned to a professional. Future course of action on the blazing vessel.
The Sri Lanka Ports Authority, Marine Environment Protection Authority, Sri Lanka Navy and other parties met the Attorney General today to discuss the future course of action to be taken on the vessel.
The Attorney General considered the developments of the matters at length. We also apprised him of the situation, following which he decided to take future steps.
What is the current situation of the Express Pearl vessel?
The fire that erupted on the vessel at the outer harbour of the Colombo port has not been doused completely as of yet. The Sri Lanka Navy is monitoring the fire on the vessel with the use of infrared cameras.
The situation on the vessel has improved compared to yesterday. There are only a few red-hot areas. The fire and the smoke have also reduced. I believe that the fire can be doused completely in a few days. The relevant stakeholders are taking the necessary steps in this regard. The vessel won't sink at the current location if the current rate of the fire continues to persist.
නයිට්‍රික් ඇසිඩ් තියෙන ඒ නැවේ කන්ටේනර් වලට වතුර ගැහුවා නිමන්. එවැනි ඔලොමොට්ටල තීන්දුවක් අරගෙන මේක
They used water to douse the fire that erupted on a container with nitric acid. The fire started spreading due to such foolish activity. If the minister is claiming that they were not notified about this, then that is a blatant lie. Will the Navy and the Ports Authority allow vessels to enter our waters without being informed? If that happens, then it is a threat to national security.
ඒව දුන්නා නම් ජාතික ආරක්ෂාවට ඒක බරපතල ප්‍රශ්නයක්.
What steps have foreign nations taken concerning these maritime accidents?
In 2010, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill caused massive environmental damage as a result of an 87-day oil spill that spewed 134 million gallons into the Gulf of Mexico. British Petroleum had to settle $4 billion after being found guilty on criminal counts, including manslaughter. The company also had to settle the largest environmental damage settlement in the United States history, amounting to $20.8 billion.
What action has been taken in our country?
The empty New Diamond fuel tanker had caught fire in the eastern seas of Sri Lanka on the 3rd of September. The owners of the vessel had been asked to pay a compensation of 450 million rupees for the efforts to douse the fire and also for the environmental damage caused. Although the firm had paid a portion of the compensation, details are yet to be revealed on the balance payment. The recent incident that occurred in Sri Lankan waters is the fire on board the Express Pearl vessel. What action will be taken for the damages caused due to this incident. How much of compensation will be sought from those responsible?
කවුද මේ කාන්දුවත් එක්ක මේ නැව ලංකාවට ගන්නට අවසරය ලබා දුන්නේ?
Who gave permission for this ship to enter while it was leaking? The Minister of Ports must resign. Officers at the port have been dispatched to douse the fire. The technology at the port is poor. I heard one minister saying that compensation will be received. We had received compensation over the previous incident as well. It was said that 250 million was paid. But what happened to the rest? I believe that history is repeating itself. They are looting these funds. The people who elected these individuals with minimum education qualifications to parliament must be blamed. The Sri Lankan system allows any type of garbage to enter the country. They hope to collect the compensation after bringing them in. A proper investigation must be carried out and everyone involved, including the Minister of Ports, must be punished and sacked from their posts. This is a menace to our nation.
මේක ජාතියට කරන ව්‍යසනයක්.
When plunder becomes a way of life for a group of men in a society, over the course of time, they create for themselves a legal system that authorizes it and a moral code that glorifies it. Frédéric Bastiat, former member of the French National Assembly.
Also in local news, the West Container Terminal of the Colombo port has a significant impact on Sri Lanka's economy. Against such a backdrop, a weekend newspaper has reported that the letter of intent on vesting India's Adani Group with a stake in the terminal had been signed on the 3rd of May.
According to reports, 51% of the ownership of the West Container Terminal of the Colombo port will be given to India's Adani Port Group, 34% to John Keel's Holdings and 15% to the Sri Lanka Ports Authority. A company by the name of West Container Terminal International Private Limited has also been established. The relevant factions have been given 180 days to meet the conditions, including completing the financial and development activities. We hope to commence operations at the East and West Container Terminals as soon as possible because we are an Asian hub when it comes to the port sector. When the number of terminals increases, our income will increase accordingly.
While the West Container Terminal of the Colombo port has been handed over to India, diverse views have been expressed on handing over properties in Colombo for various projects. Previously, Newsfirst reported on how a special purpose vehicle has been set up under an entity named Selendiva Investments Private Limited, which is completely owned by the Treasury to attract investments for various projects. The properties classified as the Colombo Fort Heritage Square investment portfolio include Grand Oriental Hotel and York Building, Gafoor Building, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Postal Department Head Office. Meanwhile, the Sino restaurant along Dr. Vijayawardena Mawatha, the mega mixed development project of the Water's Edge Hotel and the International Coordination Centre in Kankasanture, Jaffna are classified as the immovable property development investment portfolio. Further, the Hilton Colombo and Grand Hyatt are also to be brought under the special purpose vehicle and will be given away to investors.
අපි අහනවා දැන් මේ සෙලන් දිවා කියන ආයතනය බිහි කළෙත් SPV කියන සමාගම ඇති කළෙත් අරමුණ කුමක්ද?
What is the purpose of setting up Selendiva Investments and a special purpose vehicle? This cannot be concealed. They have done this with the objective of selling assets and properties. If the government feels that they have to sell off these assets to generate revenue, that is a foolish move.
එකම උපාය මාර්ගය මේ ජාතික දේපල විකුණා දැමීම කියලා ආණ්ඩුව කල්පනා කරනවා නම් ඒ තරම් මෝඩ ක්‍රියාවක් නැහැ.
We won't sell them. Our government is of the stance that they will be leased. Investments must be brought down at this time, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. They are claiming that we are trying to sell off resources or attempting to transform this country into a colony. They are spreading such claims to cause an economic downfall. The lands in Colombo are being sold at a time when the Port City Bill has been passed. There is a connection between both of these moves. By transferring the head office of the People's Bank and by clearing properties such as the Grand Oriental Hotel and the Hilton Hotel, lands near the Bere Lake and on Dr. Vijayawardena Mawatha, they are trying to annex these lands to the port city and allow the Chinese company to administer these areas at their own will. There is an ulterior motive behind this. That is why these are taking place. The cabinet paper received approval on the 17th. On the 18th, Parliament received the court determination on the Port City Bill. It was debated on the 19th and passed on the 20th. These incidents are all linked.
The shortage of fertilizer continues to affect farmers from several parts of the country. Farmers of Anuradhapura are now facing the brunt of this crisis.
Paddy and other types of crops are cultivated during the Yala and Maha harvesting seasons in the Mahavilacha area in Anuradhapura. Farmers in the area are forced to undergo severe hardships due to the lack of fertilizer. Many farmers who pawned off their jewellery to cultivate their crops now have only one option but to abandon their crops. Fertilizer must be applied within 20 days. Without it, these paddy plants don't grow properly. Usually the vines grow out and spread. Lack of fertilizer is the issue. We request organic fertilizer or any sort of fertilizer for our fields. A presidential task force has been appointed for organic fertilizer. It has 46 members. Along with various specialists from the agricultural field, some other factions are also in it.
Company PLC. Sabahapati.
What is going to happen now? They are importing industrial waste from China under the guise of carbonic fertilizer. It is not organic fertilizer. The fertilizer that is being imported by our country and other nations around the world from China is industrial waste filled with containers with urea. This causes a damage similar to the damage caused by chemical fertilizer. They have turned the process of importing fertilizer into a business with their close associates and a ring of thieves.
මෙතන තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ තමයි ලෝකෙම මේ වන විට අර අපේ කාප්පාන් චිත්‍රපටයේ දැක්කා වගේ මේ ඉඩම් අල්ලා ගැනීම සඳහා විවිධ උපක්‍රම යොදනවා.
The problem here is that various steps are being taken to acquire our lands just as it was portrayed in the Karpan film. Sometimes they don't necessarily acquire our lands by force. They obtain these lands by weakening farmers and forcing them to abandon their profession. When people become frustrated and abandon their cultivations, these multinational companies will then loot and steal these lands. This is their exercise targeting lands. This is taking place across the world. If that is not the case, and if they want to allow farmers to cultivate using organic fertilizer, that would require some time. The main suspicion we have is whether these companies have joined hands. This is happening to urban properties now. We can observe that this began with the Port City Bill. This is spreading rapidly. At a time when the people are battling with their lives, the government is bringing forth bills, obtaining cabinet approval, and is selling valuable properties in Colombo.
මේ මිනිස්සු තමන්ගේ ජීවිතය රැකගන්න බරපතල සටනකට යෙදෙනකොට ආණ්ඩුව මොකද කරන්නේ? අනපනත් ගෙනෙමින් කැබිනට් අනුමැතිය ලබා ගනිමින් කොළඹ නගරයේ තියෙන මර්මස්ථාන විකුණමින් ඉන්නවා.
Moving on to news overseas, protests have taken place across Brazil over the management of COVID-19 crisis by the government of President Jair Bolsonaro. And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Arundhati Mundanayaka, together with our interpreter this evening, Brian De Cruz. Good night.